Oop. Hello, it's me, Hedwig. I'm gonna run you through this tutorial of, as you can see, over there, 24 Bees category in Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. And this video will be about teaching you the tricks and routes you need in the overworld to complete a run. I'd say this as a starting point is the most important thing if you actually want to follow the current route to have a competitive time and learn the game, because the overworld skips are quite necessary to achieve even a time like anywhere close to where you want to be when you actually aim at speedrunning the game. After this tutorial, I'm also going to do a tutorial video specifically for the 2D levels, like for the tricks you can do in 2D levels, and for the Lair itself. It'll be part of the 2D level tutorial. But I think this is a great starting point, as most of what's done in the 2D levels is possible to just be replicated by looking at it and trying to do it after what you see. But for this, a lot of it needs a little bit more in-depth explanation, as I think. So yeah, let's dive right into it. I'll start with some base mechanics and then I'll run you through tricks and specific routes for Overworld Bees and stuff like that. So let's go! Actually, before we start, I hope you guys can bear with me for not being native in English, and my pronunciation, my sentences and stuff can be a little off at times, so if you don't understand anything, if you don't understand a thing, please just tell me. You can always message me on Discord. I'm gonna leave my tag and the Yooka-Laylee speedrunning Discord in the description below, so you can always enter that, and we have a newcomer section and we always love to help new people who want to pick up the game. And yeah. Sometimes I say the same words a lot of times. Try to not be too annoyed by that. I'm pretty annoyed at that myself. But yeah, now it's actually the point where we start. Let's go! Alright guys, let's go over some very basics in the movement in this game. So basically, our base movement abilities are walking. Using the control stick we have like 360-degree angle to like move wherever we want. We can move diagonal, we have like all the gradients in between. While if we use the D-pad, we are obviously restricted to 8 angles, which can come in handy for precise setups later in the run that require those exact angles. Then we gotta jump, and we gotta roll. And you can already see rolling is faster than just jumping or walking normally. Actually, if we keep like this roll going, without going back to walking, we can keep that rolling speed basically forever, and we can do turns as well. But whenever we would roll and stop and go back to just walking, we'd slowly decrease in speed again, going back to like normal walking speed. A neat little trick to add to the rolling thing, by the way, is that we can actually get past max rolling speed. Like, you can see right now I can like keep this max rolling speed that I was talking about earlier as long as I keep rolling. But if we actually kill a minion during a roll and then keep rolling, we get to a higher speed as we get a little speed boost from killing the minion, and we can keep that up as long as we keep rolling as well. And now that's our first little trick I want to show you here. We can actually combine two things. It's like an intentional strat the game actually needs in some casual parts, but it's also definitely needed for some of the speedrun tricks we use in this run. So you can see when I just use walking speed and jump off the ledge, I don't get really far. It's like roughly more than one of those hexagons here. Right? But when I roll off of the ledge and then put a jump at the end of the roll, or like rather in the middle of the roll, we can get way further. Because we can carry the momentum from the roll and then jump out of the roll and actually make quite a bit of distance through that. Again, little comparison. Normal jump off of the ledge. Roll jump off of the ledge. Definitely comes in super handy in some places, and I'm gonna show you some examples. So one of the first examples is basically like when we want to jump over those fences here. We wouldn't have any chance to be able to do that without the roll jump. Here's another spot where we need to use it, so... For the run, we actually need to get one of those fire berries here across the water. But if we just would walk off of this cliff, or even off of here, we wouldn't really get it. Casual way would be what I just did, like use the fire berry on the platform, be able to use the platform, but we don't want to waste the time in waiting for that, so we just take the water berry and do a roll jump across the water here, landing on this little part of the beach which we can stand on, having gotten the water berry across. Okay, one more place to showcase the roll jump on across the gap is this bee, the beach bee. And this is actually developer intended, it's just like intentionally quite hard and you have to figure out the roll jump to even be able to get this bee casually. So as you can see, I want to get across here, but if I jump off of the cliff, you can see it's quite a distance. I can't make it without roll jump. And even with a poorly timed roll jump, it will not be possible. As you can see, like if I roll and immediately jump, won't happen, even though I have the speed. And if I roll and jump when I already lost some height, like this, or when I'm barely already touching the water, like it gets really hard. Like, you can also jump out of it too late. So basically what you want to do is align with the ledge, do the roll and try to jump out of it. Not immediately, but before you lose height. Like this. Yeah, just mess around with this a little bit and figure out the muscle memory for getting this jump consistently. It definitely comes in very handy. As like it's used both here, like I'd say the two hard places to use it in are here and Desert Out of Bounds. But I'm gonna show Desert Out of Bounds in a separate tutorial later in this video. Alright, and the last basic movement on the overworld is something that's not necessarily needed to start off learning the run, but it's definitely a nice little minor time save if you can do it. So, you see when I just swim in the water, Yooka goes this fast. It's really slow, but then you can do the swimming motions by pressing X. And you can get to really high speed, but in between his swimming motions, Yooka will have little stops. How we prevent losing the speed every single time Yooka does a swimming motion is actually not swimming at all. We just perform a roll jump, which lets us store the max speed we can get, like from a roll. Like as I told you earlier, rolling is the fastest way of movement across the map. And we just try to jump off of the surface of the water as soon as we hit it. Like there I failed it because of bad timing. But if we hit A every single time before Yooka really touches the water, or like on the frame he touches the water. I'm not sure if it's actually frame perfect or if we get a few frames for it. But it's not super hard, but you definitely need to get a little bit of muscle memory for it. Hello there! So the first trick I'm going to show you is slope hops. It's basically a way to get up the side of a slope real easily. As you see right there. See, not that hard, kind of quick. It's the first strat we use in 24Bs, we just jump up that slope right here. And you see me here line it up. Basically, if we have a slope like this, that we have a side of that we can jump up. It's basically always the case when there's a wall that has the slope properties, which is something I'm gonna explain later on. And we have a side of it where it doesn't continue anymore. We can align ourselves with that side. In this case, the left side of the thing. The goal is to reach the green platform on top. And we align ourselves with the left side of it. Imagine Yooka's body would have a straight vertical line through it in the middle of him. We want to align the exact middle of him with the left side of the slope we want to hop up. And if we have done that, we can just go towards it and jump up with multiple little hops. We just hold down, press A. Yeah. So that one, for example, did not work because we get pushed to the left. We can see in the attempt right before it, like the first one is still perfectly set up, but during the second one we get pushed to the left a little, like you can see here. Yooka's middle is not perfectly aligned with the left edge of the slope anymore. So when I go back down and I jump against it, we get pushed to the left. We really have to be aligned pretty much with the exact middle of Yooka. Like there's a little room for wiggle, but it has to be pretty much exactly the line. So what you also totally could do, theoretically, is do it without a setup like I did in the beginning, and I'm showing it you again here. We basically just diagonally go towards the wall in a way and try to jump up. But yeah, if we don't hit it perfectly, we usually would get bounced off, and yeah, so I definitely recommend to try the setup way at first. Next thing I'm gonna show you are Bookjumps. It is using the height of the tomes, the books that are the 2D levels, to get a little bit of a height advantage over something in the overworld, to basically jump up something we wouldn't be able to jump up from the ground. It's a pretty simple concept, and you're gonna see in a second what I mean with that. So for this first book jump, we use this box here that we want to get up. We couldn't usually get up that box by just jumping up, but when we jump from the book, we can get up. It's as simple as that. Usually to conserve our height going off of the book, it's pretty simple to just do a little roll jump off of the book, like you see here. When you just jump towards it, it can be hard to make the distance at times. So it's definitely easier and advised to roll off of the book and then jump out of that roll. Alright, here's another instance of a book jump that's used in the 24 Bees run. It's used after you finish chapter 17.1, when you enter the beach for the first time. And basically after you finish the level, you do your map cancel, which is going to be explained later in this video. And then you proceed to do the following. You roll and then you jump on the right fence there. It's as simple as that. You can just roll to conserve your height a little bit easier while also building up some speed. And you jump out of the roll. I'm gonna just show it again to you. Just like that. And then you proceed to walk or jump over the fence down here to Rodney and follow the 24 Bees route as it goes on. Alright, so next thing I'm going to show you is Sloperolls. So first you have to understand that some walls in this game are just straight up walls, but some are slightly angled. Not all walls that are angled are specified as slopes, but some are slopes, and I'm going to show you the ones important for a 24 Bees run. So when you walk against a wall, you can see you don't get any further than this, where Yooka is standing right now. And when you ground pound on that spot, you can always see that, I'll show you again, between the shadow of Yooka, like when he's ground pounding, and the wall, there's still a space. And for a slope roll, we basically want to ground pound closer to the wall than this, so the shadow actually touches the wall instead of there still being a gap. And you will be able to see that in a bit, kind of like this. Did you catch it? I'm gonna go back and show you. Here's still the gap, but if we actually jump, then hold a little bit down on our control stick and then do the ground pound, we can actually get closer to the wall and ground pound closer to the wall than if we just run against it. And if we perform that correctly, out of that we can buffer a roll and roll up the wall. I'm gonna show you again. So to get maximum height up the wall, you always want to go in that angle that I want there. You kind of want to have a 45-degree angle to the left or to the right, and then at some point spin the stick around into the opposite direction to kind of like go from an angle to pretty much straight up the wall. As only the beginning of the slope roll needs to be angled in order to not bonk, but afterwards you can actually go straight up. So what you saw here, I'm gonna show it to you again. Here, now I'm gonna actually demonstrate that you can also ground pound too close to a wall. So when you jump and you hold a little bit, like you turn your stick towards the wall to do your ground pound closer to the wall, you can overdo it. You only want to touch the stick a slight bit and go as much, like, you only want to go that as close to the wall that the shadow just touches it. You're not supposed to ground pound on the low part of the wall, like I'm gonna do right here. Because if we do this, like this, the shadow actually goes beyond the wall. We will just not even get a ground pound, like you see here. The same as when we just jump against the wall. Yeah, we always want to still get the ground pound while being as close as possible to the wall. And in this specific case, like you just saw, I was able to jump up the fence out of the momentum I get from the slope roll. And that's basically needed for a trick. So that's a possibility. We can, at the end of a slope roll, perform a jump to get up a pretty high ledge. And we need it in 24 Bs. Just like that. At the end of the slope roll, after we turn pretty much straight up, we do this little jump and we end up on this fence. And that's basically it with this slope roll. Alright, here's another slope roll that appears in the 24 Bs run, but this one actually has a little trick to it that makes it a bit easier. So, as I explained earlier that we want to ground pound close to a wall to perform a slope roll, that is actually because coming out of the ground pound we get a very tiny bit of height. And rolling out of that height while we're directly in front of the wall, we can get the slope roll. That is also possible in other areas of the game that are not relevant in 24 Bs, where we can just roll off of a platform and onto a slope, but I'm not going to show that here. But instead, in this trick, for example, if we jump between the boxes here, we already are not touching the ground anymore. That means we don't need a ground pound. We can just angle ourselves diagonally down left, start a roll, then tilt the stick to go up, to go down and fully face the slope that we want to go up, and roll up, fully without a ground pound, and then continue with our movement towards that Overworld Bee. I'm gonna show it one more time in full motion. We just angle down left, then down, and we do the slope roll. Pretty easy. Just like that. And in case we actually end up breaking those boxes accidentally rolling here, that's no big deal, because even though the space is pretty tight, we can still just perform the normal slope roll with the ground pound I taught you earlier. Alright, and here's one final slope roll I want to show you that appears in 24 Bs. Because there's yet another little special technique to get up. In this case, you see our vision for the slope roll is actually pretty bad because of that big palm tree in the way. As you can see though, like as you may or may not be able to see, but if you actually follow me to this area in the game and you run against the lower wall, like the wall that's right below Yooka right now, that is actually also a slope wall that we want to get up to introduce the desert out of bounds trick, which is going to follow later in the specific trick section. We can also just ground pound right in front of the wall and roll up it, no problem, just like I showed you before, but a lot of people in the community considered that a little bit hard because of the bad vision, because of the palm tree. So a trick that works in this area, probably because it's like exactly in a corner or something. We can just walk in the corner, hold down left, do the ground pound, and start rolling exactly in the direction of the corner itself. We don't have to stand like in the middle of a sloped wall somewhere and do the little angling thing, but instead we can just roll towards the corner itself. We can still overdo it like you see there and jump too far onto the wall. But yeah, we can do it anywhere on this wall, so it's kind of your decision how you want to do it. If you're better with angling during the roll up, then just go do that like on the other walls. But yeah, if you want to do it and have better vision, you can do it in the bottom left corner there. Now I'm gonna show you Airswim. And for Airswim as well, I'm gonna just show you the entire route that we want to do, like with an Airswim, not just how to initiate the trick, because it can actually be quite tricky. So the general idea is that as soon as we hit a water plane that is like out of bounds, the game will, or if we hit any water plane in general, the game will always try to make Yooka reach the surface. Like you can't stay underwater, the game always wants you to swim on the surface of the water. But if we hit a water plane that's out of bounds under the level, we'll be able to infinitely swim like under the ground of the level. Because the game will try to have us rise, but we can't rise past the ground because the ground is still solid. We're gonna abuse that to actually make our way to level 10-1, 10-2, no matter which one you want to start first. And the only way of getting out of such Airswim on the overworld is actually to hit a loading zone, hit a loading trigger that's like behind a wall or something, or behind a door. Yeah, I'm first gonna show you the entire thing in full motion real quick. So when we start off, we want to do all these tricks I showed you earlier to reach to 1. Then we're doing the slope roll to get out of bounds here. So here, what's already important, you saw me jumping over, like from the fence to this stone wall. Basically from the fence we only have to go left and roll jump onto it, and then from there we're fully free to move on it. Once we're at the end here, we want to do a slightly up left angled jump over to those stones. Wherever we're moving right now, we always want to be on the hitbox of those outer stones, because otherwise we can fall into a pit and it's basically rip. We have to teleport back out again. And as soon as we're done here, we do a roll jump up here. Like you can see, the hitboxes of those stones out of bounds are quite far extended upwards. You'll get a feeling for that if you try it out. It's not super hard. I'll not go into any deeper detail. And then here we want to jump past Rodney. Like we basically want to jump over Rodney through the door that's there to make our way out of bounds. From here, I'd recommend you to watch the controller cam at times and maybe go a little back, look at what I pressed on the controller, and then see how it works. But as soon as we're out of bounds, we basically want to go right and down right. First I'm gonna go right, down right. Then at some point you hit a wall, you just continue holding down right until you fall a little bit. And then we just go right in very slowly, if we're not if you're not too sure yet where you actually are, until we fall out of bounds here. What's best, in my opinion, here is to align kind of in the center of this little small field we can stand in, and then start rolling upwards. Just infinitely roll upwards until you hear water. Did you hear the splash? I'm gonna play it back to you again, because this is where we start with the magic. Once we hit that splash, Like immediately once we hear that splash, that's our audio cue for how we want to proceed. Once we hear the splash, we want to hold up left on the control stick and do swims press and X repeatedly. That's actually a point where multiple different things can happen, but I'm going to show you what happened to me in this working attempt, and afterwards I'm also going to show you other possible things that can happen and how to react to them. So we want to swim up left, and there, and it's like, you really need to get a feeling for this. At some point you'll know what has happened to you. But basically, based on not hearing water anymore and the camera shifting slightly there, we realized that we fell out of the water plane. If we fall out of the water plane here like this, and not immediately hit water but stand on ground, we know that we have to slowly walk down, just very slightly, until we hit water again. Which I'm gonna do right here. I'm gonna show it again. There, we fell out of the water. Now I'm gonna walk downwards very slowly until I hit water again. As soon as I hit that water, I want to swim up and then upright. Now I'll show you what happens if you don't go far enough left once you hit the water, or you don't go early enough to the up left as soon as you hit the splash of the water. So basically what's happening here is we're not actually able to make it to the floor that we made it to in the first attempt. And as you can see here on this tile right above the wood, Laylee's head is sticking out of the water there just a bit. You can see we rose to the top of the water plane below those tiles here. And we're not able to just make it to the floor because we're basically past a wall that's like vertically in here that we can't see, that's blocking us off of it. So our only opportunity is to, instead of how we did it earlier, like just press up left, make it to the floor, we press, like we still try to press up left, but we end up here. And from here, if we realize we're here and we didn't fall into the water and we're up in this upper area with the tiles, we actually want to hold left instead. And if we do that, we end up on the very end, like we're kind of in this corner here. In this, we're kind of right under this long piece of stone, right in the corner. Like top left of the wooden platform. And from here, we again want to move down slowly until we hit the water. But it's a bit of a longer way. The earlier way was like, we were like one step away from the water, and now we're like at the uppermost part and have to make all the way down to the water. So you definitely still want to walk slowly. I'm gonna show it in full motion again, so you can maybe adjust yourself with where the camera is. Again, Yooka is kind of in the middle of the screen most of the time. And boom. By walking down slowly, we hit the water plane, and from here you can basically continue like I showed first with like going upright and then under the stones and continue. Another possible thing is that you hit the water plane you want to make it to earlier than expected. In this case here, I go up left as soon as I hit the water splash. And then as you can see here, Yooka rolled on something. So I probably, like I hit instead of hitting a swimming motion, I actually hit the ground already and I rolled off of it and I roll right into the water plane. Like it can happen like this, or you just fall right into the water plane as well. You can realize falling into the water plane by the loud splash while falling into it. I'll show it to you real quick. Splash. If that happens to you, that's kind of the best case. It's the fastest way of reaching the water plane. You can just embrace it, hold up or upright to make it to the rocks like I showed you earlier, and continue the route. Alright, this last one is one I kinda had to force, because this very rarely happens to you once you got the timing down. But it's definitely something that can happen, and you don't want to throw a runaway over it. So if you do something with very bad timing or a very bad angle, we can end up being already on the very surface of the water plane under the level, and Laylee's head will stick out like this. And it'll look like you can't do anything anymore, because we can't go upwards here to even reach the ground or the water plane that's like right below the ground. What you want to do though, like we can still save this. What you want to do though is just go to this place I'm here right now, which is basically where the minion stands and blocks the vision, and hold upwards and just continue trying to swim. Just repeatedly press X to swim. I'm gonna show it again. You hold up and you just like repeatedly swim. When that happens, you can either fall onto the ground, like in the very first example of the route I showed, or immediately fall in the water, like I just showed you a moment ago. And depending on what happens, like when you hit the water immediately, you just hold up and upright to go to the rocks. But if you fall to the ground, you just hold down just a tiny bit until you fall in the water, and then continue with the route like I showed in the last attempt. And now we basically control Yooka through trying to think of Yooka being in the center of the screen. Like Yooka will now mostly always be in the center of the screen as we see it. And we want to maneuver him around some stuff and into the desert. So we want to move him at best roughly through the little gap between those two stone blocks here, like in the middle where you see the little gap between. But he can move under it, so it's no big deal if you're a little off to the right, a little off to the left. You just can't be under the wooden parts on the left. That won't work, or you don't want to be too far to the right. So as soon as you maneuvered here, so the middle of the screen is somewhere around the stones, we want to continue moving up, do swimming. Then as soon as we're here and we see we made it to the frozen lake part, we want to move up left. Now we can actually see where Laylee is on the screen. Funnily enough, we got a little visual bug here with a little tweet text box following us now, but that actually will help you guys understand where we are. So hey, this is actually kind of good. From here we want to just go upwards under this wall, because this is our way to the desert. Upwards, 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 and then upright to make our way through here, because we have to actually go right past the red thingies in the top left you see there. We can't go under those. We're gonna want to go right on the right way around there. Then we want to go around here, not much to explain. As soon as we reach our friend Pipo here, we want to do 2 full swimming motions to the upright, is how I personally do it. That's my cue. Like, I want Yooka and Laylee to do 2 full swims to the upright from here. I actually went a little bit too far to the right there, which you're gonna see in a moment, but it'll also work. So 2 full spin, 2 full swimming motions to the right, and we're gonna be here. We're kinda, wait, the tweet is actually gone away. We're kinda in the area of the gigantic rock you see there, like slightly left of the gigantic rock. If you look at the middle of the screen, roughly, that's kind of where we am right now. And from here, we want to go to the right. Just a lot of swimming motions to the right. And as soon as we arrive inside this little metal-ish part, we want to do 1 swimming motion upright. And then more swimming motions to the right. And then as soon as we reach this door here, that is actually the loading zone that we want to jump into or swim into. I actually go a bit too far to the right there, but you can just correct that by not perfectly just using down and swim, like control stick down and swim, but using control stick down left and swim. We basically just want to try to hit the door from behind while swimming. One thing that can go wrong, see, this worked. One thing that can definitely go wrong is if we are too far up, if we're not below the rocks anymore here, but if we're in that area that is dark, that's like above the rocks, we don't have a ceiling anymore. And Yooka will start instantly and infinitely rising up. And we will be out of bounds, he'll instantly rise up, we'll have no loading zone to trigger and enter, and that's RIP. You have to restart at that point. No possible way of getting out of there. But yeah, if you actually manage to hit the load like I did there, that is behind this door, you successfully performed an Airswim, and you can continue with the route. Alright, so now what I'll show you is what do we call swing strats. It's actually abusing this movable swing on the overworld here to get up to really high ledge, to actually reach this lever down there to the right to switch 10-1 to level 10-2, which is the first level we're actually entering in the run. And yeah, now I'm gonna run you through how I actually managed to achieve that. So once we enter the room, we directly head right to the swing, and we jump on the left end of it. When we see it going down a little bit, we roll over to the other side and jump on the very end on the right. And we can already see the swing moving. Like as soon as we can see it's getting in good motion, we roll over to the left again. Like after waiting for a short moment, we always want to wait for a short moment to let the swing move. We roll over to the left again, jump in on the very end. Again, wait just a moment until it swings a little more strongly. Then we do the same to the right again. And at this point, this is actually what I call half circle strat. I don't do another roll to the left because after we want to go to the left this time, we actually want to jump off of the right. So instead of rolling to the left, I just walk up until the second to last piece of wood on the swing, then perform a half circle, usually downwards. Like I move Yooka to the left, then a half circle, and then I just turn around to the right until I'm at the very end of the right and roll off of there. And I'm going to show you. Or yeah, roll jump off of there. Half circle, forward jump off of the left. I'm going to show it again, one more time in full motion. Jump on the left, jump on the right, roll jump to the left, roll jump to the right, walk there, half circle, roll jump off. You can definitely do that. Good luck in trying. And then you just go down, yeah, not that way. I'm trying it a bit more here. Yeah, and then at the end you just jump down here, use that lever, follow the route. Now we're looking at what might just be one of the most important tricks in the overworld by now. It's kind of on the edge between being an overworld trick and being a 2D trick, because it can be performed in various situations. But what I'm talking about is USBee. It is a strat that involves unplugging our controller, and so far as we know only works on PC. So what it lets us do is exit the little bee dance, how we call it, like when we collect a bee and the bee flies around Yooka in circles and we gotta wait, then the map opens and the bee shows us, hey, I'm flying to the impossible lair, the counter goes up by 1. We can skip parts of that through using this technique. So, and that's divided in a bee cancel, bee or bee dance skip, and a map skip or a map cancel. we can kind of decide which of those two we want to use. And there's different cases for when we want to use them. I'm first going to show you a case for a bee dance skip achieved through USBee. So basically we get this Overworld Bee right here, right? 5S. I messed it up from the left, so I'm going my way around the right and taking the bomb, shooting it at 5S. And as soon as I destroyed it, right here, I don't need to do any more inputs, right? Before the cutscene appears. So I want to disconnect my controller. Like right now I'm using an Xbox One USB-C controller. And I plug out the USB-C cable. We basically trick the way into not being able to take away our ability to control the game with the controller, and we will plug it back in after the game tried to take our ability to move away, right? So it won't actually be able to force us to stand in place during the bee thing. So what I'm gonna do is, right in this fade out, before it's fully done, like in the middle of it or even right now, plug back in the cable into my controller so my PC detects it again. And what that achieves is, while the bee starts to fly around us, we can already move again and, for example, enter this level. Saves us a lot of time. This way of skipping the bee dance is used 3 times throughout the run. It's after 10-1 or 10-2, depending on what you do first. It's used if you mess up the left side 5S and have to do it from the right side. And it's used after 16S in the overworld to enter 16-2 earlier. The second thing we can do with USBee controller strats, make sure to always write it as USBee because we need the bee puns in here, is skip out of the map that appears where it shows, hey, bee is flying to the impossible lair, your counter goes up by 1, blah, blah, blah. What we have to do in return, like what we have to give in return though, is to wait through the actual bee dance with the bee flying around Yooka. It can either be performed after a level or after an overworld bee. That really doesn't matter. The only thing is you again want to reconnect the controller after the last input you have to do. Like after this level we have to press A for continue, and on this fade out right here we can already unplug the controller like you're gonna see there. And then to actually get the timing for cancelling the map, this is when we want to plug the controller back in. You saw the bee starting to fly around Yooka. I'm gonna show it again real quick. The bee starts to fly around Yooka, and once it's south, like right under Yooka or slightly to under and to the left of Yooka, we want to plug back in the controller. And what that will give us is that as soon as this map appears, we can actually cancel it by pressing B. And we can start moving again. We don't have to watch over anything that map gives us there. It's usually saving more time than just skipping out of the bee dance, because skipping out of the bee dance only lets us move until the map appears. And if we don't immediately enter a level, the map will still appear and we won't be able to skip out of that as well. Anyways, I'm going to show it again in full motion. It'll look like this. We connect here. And yeah, we can skip out of the map and move. For example, after the level, go for the Bombjump, which is also a trick I explain in this tutorial video. What you always have to keep in mind doing these two tricks is that if you use those USBee strats, you won't be able to access the pause menu, both inside levels and on the overworld anymore. So we can't do normal warps anymore. What we instead have to do is to use warps out of the USBee, which is something I'm also going to show you right now. So as I just said, for warping, from after we used any USBee strat, we need to warp off of the map using our USB strats, because it's the only like map we're ever gonna see again, as we can't just press pause and access the map normally anymore. So to warp, right now we can always warp after B. So for example, after this beach bee here that we collect, I will perform USBee like I would for a map cancel. Like I disconnected on the fade out and then I reconnected when the bee is south of Yooka. But instead of canceling once we see the map, what I'm gonna do is press the right trigger. The right trigger will go to a close level on the map, as we only see level 1-1 and 1-2. It'll go to 1-2. But because we actually want to warp to 1-1 after this beach bee, I will not just press A now to warp there, but instead I'm gonna move up the control stick a little bit to 1-1 and press A there. You have to be kind of quick doing that. We don't want to move the stick over to the level, because the map cutscene with the bee going to the lair might just be over already if we reach the level just moving there normally. So we definitely want to use the trigger and do the final adjustment with the stick to actually go to the level that we want to warp to. We use that several times across the run, basically every time we want to warp, sometimes back to 1-1, sometimes back to 2-1. At the end to the impossible lair, we actually only can do it with the stick, because it doesn't get, like, you don't reach it by pressing the trigger. And yeah, that's basically about it with USBee. Alright, so let's now get into Desert Out of Bounds, or in short, Doob. As you have probably seen in the 24 Bees run, this is a trick that we actually have to do in order to get to an Overworld Bee and then to the level 14 too. So like this one's actually quite crucial, especially if you would run like in an older route. It would actually appear in the run multiple times, or like even other categories, it happens as well. So first of all, we want to go up this slope that we can barely see, like I showed you in the Sloperolls tutorial, either like this, or like I said, with the special method that only works on Desert Out of Bounds. And now you see me already being in motion. I'm gonna go right back to the setup real quick. And basically where we want to go is the ledge in the northeast of Yooka right now. But we don't actually, like, we don't have a setup, so we can actually go fully northeast, but we actually want to position ourselves somewhere so we can do sort of a northeast-east position with the control stick, and then do a roll jump over to the ledge. So as you will see, where Yooka's standing right here is pretty much the outermost point of where he can still stand and roll off of the cliff without immediately falling and losing height. You can see it's kind of in the upper right corner of the hole that Yooka would fall in if he would go one step further. So the hitbox off the rock, which we would not even be supposed to be standing on at this point, extends that far. But if we would go like one step further or one step to the side, we would fall off. So we want to initiate a roll and then do a like extended long jump as long as we can to northeast-east, and you can follow the control stick for that as well. Like up here. Gonna show it again in full motion. Go there, and then you do a jump northeast-east kinda. And as you can see, sometimes I try it, I don't actually manage to achieve it. That's because this trick is actually like one of the hardest things in the overworld in this run. See right there, you can actually also do it from slightly further back. Like I didn't go as far to the front as I did in the first attempt where I got it. That is also possible. Like there's a tiny bit of wiggle, but you definitely want to go sort of far out there to even be able to make the distance. As you can, like, as you're able to see here, Yooka's dust is like where he landed is just just on the very edge of where we want to go on. And then yeah, afterwards we continue out of bounds in a pretty easy pattern here. We follow this path out of bounds. Here's some walls we actually need to jump over to. I walk into them to show you there's those walls. We can actually get a bit more height if we go into roll and jump out of that, and there we are. Overworld Bee collected. Another little thing, right after Desert Out of Bounds and after we collected the Overworld Bee here, we actually want to jump up a fence, and it's kind of a similar system as with the Bookjumps. We want to use this little rock on the ground there where you can stand on, the little like piece of stone, because it's actually a little higher than the rest of the ground, and we can use a roll jump off of that to manage to get on the fence. It's actually quite tricky. Like we gotta jump quite early out of the roll there to actually make that. Anyways, like yeah, like always, you can always just look at my controller cam, how I do it. Like you'll be able to perform it, but it definitely needs a few tries. And sometimes we actually get quite unlucky with it. Like you see there. And then yeah, when you fall down like this, it's over. You don't want to fall down. So now I'm going to show you how to actually get to the 16S Overworld Bee. We usually wouldn't do it right after we burned that bush, but I'm just going to do it now anyways. Usually you do it after having completed chapter 16.1 in a 24Bs run. So anyways, what we want to do is we grab a bomb, then as soon as we can maneuver ourselves to stand in range for the lever to be hit by a normal tail troll, which is our attack on X if we're just standing. So we just use the tail troll and we don't roll. And we want to hit the lever and immediately use the red platform that's going to rise up to roll, and in the end jump out of that roll up to the Overworld Bee. I'm going to show it to you. So that platform rising up like it does there can give us a huge boost in flying up there. We really want to roll, and just at the end of the platform jump out of that roll to make our way up there. And then we want to throw the bomb at the bee, use USBee strats like I'm also teaching you in this tutorial, and continue the route. I'm going to show it to you guys in full motion again real quick, from grabbing the bomb. Just like that. So we can keep the bomb, have it up here, don't have to roll into the beehive, but instead be able to use USBee, do a dance skip, and enter the level quickly. Alright, so coming up is a trick that we call Paywall 1 skip, because it does just what its name is. We skip like Trouser's first paywall that separates us from like proceeding to level 3, 4 and ongoing. We need to perform it 2 times in the run, so it's actually quite important to learn it well. And like we want to jump over to the fence that you see like right below Yooka at the moment. Like we're standing on a fence, and the one to the south is the fence that we want to jump over to. And in order to achieve that, we need to position ourselves so Yooka's middle, just as with the Slopehop in a way, is kind of aligned with the left side of the rock that's right below us. You're gonna see me trying to align myself with Yooka's middle to the rock, kinda. We can be slightly off-center to the right, that's okay, but we don't want to be off-center to the left, actually. So better be slightly to the right than to the left. And then what we want to do is we want to jump against the rock wall, then roll against it so that we don't bonk, which kind of buffers a roll. Like we kind of buffer a roll against the wall without bonking. Then we press down left with the control stick in order to roll around the left wall and jump out of the roll jump that we do around the wall. You're gonna see it in full motion here real quick. So basically what you saw me do, I'll explain it again. I jump against the wall. I jump against the wall. Then I roll the left way around the corner, and then I'll jump out of the roll rather early. And this is actually how to make it onto the fence. So there is also actually a different way to approach this trick. And it is with standing on like a very tiny spot. So actually, when you jump against the wall, we can find a spot which is like probably, I don't know, maybe a pixel wide. It's definitely extremely tiny. Like at the exact left of the rock wall there, that we can stand on. So if we jump against the wall just like that, we can happen to be able to stand on this very tiny spot like here. And then we can actually from there do a very easy roll jump just over to the fence. I personally would not recommend you to only learn it that way though. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the Overworld Bee 5S. We basically get that after a teleport to 1-1, so we perform Paywall 1 skip like I showed you before, and then go over and get this bee. So in order to get 5S, we want to try and take this bomb here, and this is kind of a tough setup. We want to line up with the ledge here, and then do a pretty long roll jump off of there and throw the bee, throw the bomb while we're at the highest point possible, and we want to throw it over to the bee to have the hive explode. It didn't work right here. I'll quickly show you how it looks when it works. One more time, this is how it's supposed to look like when it works. You can see the bomb landing in the area where the bee would be. When it doesn't work though, it's nothing is lost. We can just use these water berries to water those plants. Take the bomb from over here and jump from this one. And it didn't work there because I'm stupid. But I want to do it is, like, you actually want to do a roll jump up there, not just a normal jump. And then throw the bomb from midair. It doesn't work if we just throw it like that from just jumping, but we actually want to do a roll jump. And then it's quite easy to actually hit the bee from there. Let's go, another cool overworld trick. This time we'll look at Bombjump. Bombjump is required to make our way to the hub around 5 to make the hub. Now I'll show you how to perform a bomb jump. A bomb jump is required to make it up fences that have no other possibility to get up them. Right now in 24Bs there's one instance right after chapter 5-1 to get to the next level. I will just show you real quick how it's happening. So basically when we grab this bomb, there is the bomb will start ticking. And the ticks can be seen visually and by audio. What we want to base it off of is usually audio. It makes it easier in my opinion. It will explode on the 25th sound. So what we want to do is we want to count the ticks. You can try counting with it maybe. And boom. See? The explosion of the bomb in Yooka's mouth boosted us up the fence. How that works is, we want to count the ticks and position ourselves like you can see here. I walk up to the fence and then I make a slight step away from it. Like 2 small steps, maybe. You could maybe count it 1 full step. And then once I hear the... and people do that differently. It's basically possible to either on the 23rd tick, on the 23rd audio beep, jump and then stall in midair with the ground pound, or just jump on the 24th tick, which is what I do here. Like I wait until the 24th beep, and on the 24th beep I do a full height jump. And like when I'm midair, like on full height, I try to do a ground pound, but a lot of time it won't even get through anymore because I'm already like the bomb already explodes and gets me up there. Yeah, that was a jump on the 24th tick. It's pretty easy once you learn the timing and how to space yourself. Like you basically really want to be like maybe half of Yooka's width or something away from the fence, and then yeah, just wait for the 24th tick and jump. And at the end maybe even do ground pound. Or you just go by, like I said, 23 ticks and then jump and do ground pound midair. It'll also get you up there. And after we've done that, we can basically just proceed to go to this overworld level right here and enter it. And after you completed that level, alright, here's a little optional trick we can use to save like 6-ish seconds if we get it first try. If we only get it second try, it's only like 2 seconds anymore, and once we use third tries on this trick, we actually lose time to doing it casually, quote unquote. What we call this one is lever bounce, and we use some weird geometry on that lever you see right next to the blowy boy there, to actually boost us up to the right blowy boy that just exhales air to the right there. And I'll show it to you real quick. I jump into that little gap, like I try to jump into the gap between the lever and the wall and do ground pound there, while holding upright, like you see right here with the D-pad, because we actually need a full perfect upright angle for that. We jump into that gap, do a ground pound, and if we get lucky, we get this boost up. Once we actually do get this boost up, you can see we clip a little bit into that wall section there. Like we can stand on the side of the fanboy there. Fanboy. And we can just stand there for a second, and we can jump off of that onto the fan. And from there we basically just make our way here to the Overworld Bee then. Let's now look at the route for an Overworld Bee. I just want to show you it has no actual tricks, quote unquote, but because it's quite scary and like what you want to avoid doing it, I kind of want to show it off anyways. So walking up to it when we enter here, when you just start out learning this, you probably want to knock over that little wooden platform there, because it's a way back in case we don't get it first try or we mess a small thing up. It's also possible to fully lock out of the bee by doing something wrong, but this is definitely like a good thing for if we only do a minor mistake. Then once we arrive here, I think I'm actually just gonna show you some things you want to do and not do. So that tree there, you can either jump on or you can roll and jump on if you want to have that tiny little speed boost. What you want to avoid is rolling into the tree. I'm going to show that later, because if you roll into that tree, we're going to trigger a little cutscene with that honey falling down, and it's just not good. So from the top of the tree, you want to normal jump over to that little wooden fence here. From that fence, roll jump down on this wooden fence. Then do a roll jump off of the fence downwards, like down right, and then immediately jump upright to land on the fence behind the metal gate, and then go up like that. I'm gonna go over it again, especially the second part. That I'm rolling here is because I'm feeling extremely confident with my spacing. When you start out learning this, you probably would not want to roll there, because if you actually hit that wooden platform and it falls over, we're locked out of the bee. We can't get up anymore. It's not possible without losing minutes. So we definitely don't want to do that when we start out. And then from there we can basically just roll jump up this platform and we basically collected this bee. And after that, we basically do the same thing backwards. We jump onto the lower fence there, then jump around the fence, and we can enter chapter 7. Hello, one last time. I just want to say thank you if you watched through this video. Again, if you want to learn it past like what you saw here, definitely join our Discord, which is linked in the description. If you want, you can obviously follow me on Twitch to see my attempts at like world record improvements. Otherwise, I wish you a good day, I wish you good luck and a lot of fun with learning this run. And I'd say the tricks you learned here are definitely a great base to start off, and like just from this alone you should be able to finish a run with the current route in 24 bees. So let's go. 2D level tutorial coming soon. TM.